You know someone brilliant who can't seem to move forward. Maybe it's a friend who's been planning their business for 3 years. Maybe it's a colleague who knows everything about investing but hasn't invested a dollar. Maybe it's you. They're not lazy. They consume more information than most people ever will. They understand complex systems. They can explain behavioral economics, neuroscience, productivity frameworks. Yet somehow, their life looks almost identical to what it looked like 5 years ago. Meanwhile, someone half as knowledgeable just does things. Launches the mediocre business, makes the imperfect career change, takes the uncertain leap, and it works out fine. This creates a painful paradox. If intelligence is supposed to be an advantage, why does it so often lead to paralysis? The answer isn't what you think. And once you understand it, you'll never see being stuck the same way again. This is The Hidden Mind, where we explore the psychology that shapes how we make money, build success, and navigate modern life. I'm Addy, and today we're dissecting something most people won't talk about. Why high intelligence can actually become a cage, not because intelligence is bad, but because of how our brains use it as a defense mechanism against the one thing that actually creates change: uncomfortable action. We'll cover the 5 psychological traps that keep intelligent people stuck, the neuroscience behind why learning feels like progress, and most importantly, the exact mental shifts that break the cycle. If you've ever felt like you're too smart for your own good, this video will either make you uncomfortable or set you free. Let's start with the most seductive trap of all. Section 1. The insight addiction. Here's what happens inside the brain of an intelligent person. They read an article about habit formation. The neurons fire, patterns connect, understanding crystallizes, and dopamine floods the system. The same dopamine that gets released when you actually complete something. This is the trap. Your brain can't tell the difference between insight and achievement. Neurologically, understanding something deeply creates a reward response almost identical to doing it. The satisfaction is real. The sense of progress is real. But nothing in your external reality has changed. This is why intelligent people build massive libraries, consume endless podcasts, attend workshops, and take courses, yet their circumstances remain frozen. They're not procrastinating in the traditional sense. They're actively engaged. The problem is they're engaged in a closed loop that feels productive but produces nothing. Think about it. When was the last time you finished a book about productivity and immediately felt productive? That feeling lasted maybe a day. Then you went looking for the next book, the next framework, the next insight. Because insight is addictive. It's comfortable. It's private. It doesn't require risk. And most importantly, it doesn't threaten your self-image. Reading about entrepreneurship lets you feel like an entrepreneur without the vulnerability of actually being one. Studying investment strategies lets you feel financially sophisticated without putting capital at risk. The brain gets the reward without the exposure. And here's the kicker. Intelligent people are especially vulnerable to this because they're good at learning. The dopamine hits come easily. Understanding comes naturally. So the loop reinforces itself. You learn more, feel smarter, delay action, and then justify that delay by learning even more. This is why someone with average intelligence but a bias toward action will lap someone with genius-level intelligence who stays in learning mode. One is building, the other is preparing to build indefinitely. Section 2. Overthinking as psychological armor. Now let's talk about what's really happening when intelligent people overthink. Society calls it being cautious, being thorough, being responsible. But psychologically, it's often something else entirely. It's protection. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you never fully commit, you never fully fail. If you never put your complete effort behind something, you can always preserve the story that you could have succeeded if you really tried. Your potential stays theoretical, safe, intact. This is what psychologists call self-handicapping, and intelligent people do it constantly without realizing it. They'll say things like, "I'm just waiting for the right moment. I need to research this more thoroughly. Once I have all the information, then I'll decide." But scratch the surface. and you'll find something else: the need for guaranteed success before attempting anything. And life doesn't work that way. Think about the last major decision you delayed. Really interrogate it. Were you actually missing critical information, or were you protecting yourself from finding out whether you could succeed? Because here's what intelligent people rarely admit. Being smart is often the core of their identity. It's how they've been validated their entire life. The straight A's, the test scores, the recognition, and identity is precious. We protect it at all costs. Starting something new threatens that identity because it requires being a beginner. It requires looking incompetent, at least temporarily. It requires public struggle. So intelligence becomes the tool for avoidance. You generate sophisticated reasons why now isn't the right time. You analyze yourself into inaction. You build elaborate frameworks that all conclude, "Not yet." But that's not wisdom. That's fear wearing an intelligent mask. The person who moves forward isn't necessarily braver. They just haven't built their entire identity around being the smartest person in the room. So they can afford to be visibly imperfect. They can afford to fail in public because their self-worth isn't tied exclusively to intellectual superiority. This is the second trap: intelligence used as armor rather than as a tool. Section 3. The awareness paralysis paradox. Here's where it gets really interesting. There's a concept in psychology called the Dunning-Kruger effect that most people know. Less competent people overestimate their abilities, but there's an inverse effect that fewer people talk about. Highly intelligent people see so many variables that action becomes nearly impossible. Let me paint a picture. Someone with average awareness decides to start a YouTube channel. They see camera, microphone, topic, upload. They don't overthink it, they just start. An intelligent person deciding to start a YouTube channel sees algorithm dynamics, market saturation, content differentiation strategy, audience psychology, SEO optimization, monetization timelines, equipment ROI calculations, brand positioning, competitive analysis, thumbnail psychology, retention metrics. And that's just the beginning. They see everything, every risk, every way it could fail, every inefficiency, every obstacle. And all that awareness creates what psychologists call analysis paralysis. Not because they can't make a decision, but because they can construct valid arguments for infinite different paths. And when all paths seem equally logical or equally flawed, the brain defaults to do nothing. This creates one of life's cruelest paradoxes. The more you understand about how the world works, the harder it becomes to act within it. Because action requires tolerating uncertainty, and intelligent minds are built to reduce uncertainty. They want to think their way to clarity. But clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. You don't think your way into a new business. You act your way into clarity about whether the business works. You don't analyze your way into confidence. You build confidence through repeated exposure to discomfort. The person who understands less moves faster, not because they're reckless, but because they're not burdened by seeing every possible failure mode. And here's what's fascinating. They often end up learning more through action than the intelligent person learns through analysis. Because real-world feedback is more valuable than theoretical understanding. The market doesn't care about your business plan. It cares whether people buy. Your body doesn't care about your workout research. It cares whether you're actually training. Reality rewards behavior, not insight. And intelligent people, trapped in their own awareness, often miss this fundamental truth. The game rewards those who play, not those who study it from the sidelines. Section 4. The Commitment Threshold Problem. Let's talk about timing. Intelligent people have a specific relationship with commitment that holds them back. They want proof before effort, evidence before investment, certainty before risk. This seems logical. Why wouldn't you wait until you're sure something will work? But here's the problem. Life operates in reverse. Commitment comes first, then clarity. Action comes first, then confidence. Investment comes first, then returns. The intelligent person's mistake is treating life like a math problem with a provable solution. They think, if I gather enough data, I'll know the right answer. But most meaningful decisions can't be solved through analysis because they're not logic problems. They're trust falls. Should you start that business? There's no way to know until you're 2 years in. Should you change careers? You won't have certainty until you've already made the jump. Should you move to a new city? The answer only becomes clear after you've lived there. This is why less analytical people often advance faster, not because they're making better decisions, but because they're making decisions at all. They commit under uncertainty. And commitment itself creates the clarity that the intelligent person is waiting for before they commit. Think about relationships. The intelligent person wants to know with certainty that this is the right person before fully investing emotionally. But you can't know if someone is right for you without actually being in a relationship with them. You have to commit first. The evidence comes later. The same applies to careers, businesses, creative projects, everything that matters. And this creates the cruel irony. By waiting for certainty, intelligent people ensure they'll never get it. Because certainty is a byproduct of commitment, not a prerequisite for it. The successful people you admire didn't have more information than you. They had more willingness to move forward without it. Section 5. How to break free. So if you recognize yourself in this video, what do? The solution isn't to become less intelligent. That's impossible and undesirable. The solution is to redirect intelligence away from protection and toward production. Here are 3 frameworks that change everything. First, replace prediction with experimentation. Stop asking, will this work? Start asking, what happens if I try this for 30 days? Your brain wants to predict outcomes, but most outcomes can't be predicted. They can only be discovered. Treat your life like a lab. Run experiments. 30-day experiments are perfect because they're long enough to produce data, but short enough that you're not risking years on a theory. Want to know if you'd enjoy content creation? Create content for 30 days. Want to know if a business idea has legs? Test it for 30 days. Want to know if a habit will stick? Practice it for 30 days. Then evaluate based on real data, not theoretical analysis. Second, track behavior, not thoughts. Intelligent people live in their heads. They process, contemplate, synthesize. But thoughts are invisible. They don't change your circumstances. Start measuring what you do, not what you think. How many times did you apply for that new role this week? Not how much you thought about it. How many times did you actually apply? How many pages did you write? Not how many ideas you had. How many pages exist? How many calls did you make? Not how much you strategized. How many actual conversations happened? When you measure behavior, intelligence stops being an escape route and starts being an accelerant. Third, separate your identity from outcomes. This is the hardest but most liberating shift. You are not your results. Failure at a project doesn't make you a failure. It makes you someone who tried something that didn't work. Success at a venture doesn't validate your worth. It's just information about that particular approach. When you detach identity from outcome, action becomes much easier because the stakes feel lower. You're not risking who you are. You're just testing an idea. This is how intelligent people finally break free. They use their intelligence to design experiments, not to construct elaborate justifications for inaction. They think deeply, but they act before they feel ready. They embrace being a beginner because they know that's where growth happens. And most importantly, they stop letting insight substitute for implementation. Closing, 1330 to 1415. If this video made you uncomfortable, good. Because awareness without action is just another comfortable prison. The intelligent people who actually move forward aren't the ones who think less. They're the ones who've learned to treat their intelligence as a tool for navigation, not as a shield against exposure. You can understand psychology, neuroscience, behavioral economics, and still be completely stuck. Or you can understand those things and use them to build the life you actually want. The difference isn't intelligence, it's courage. The courage to act before you feel ready. the courage to be visibly imperfect, the courage to fail publicly rather than succeed theoretically. That's how intelligent people stop being stuck. This is the hidden mind. If you want to understand how psychology shapes money, success, and modern life, subscribe. Because the ideas that change your life are usually the ones that make you uncomfortable first. New videos every week.